In 2025, exactly 84.5 million passengers navigated the terminals, runways, and gates of London Heathrow. Think about that for a second. For an airport of this sheer scale, hitting that massive number wasn't some kind of anomaly. It was the established baseline of absolute normalcy. It represented a finely tuned, globally interconnected aviation hub operating exactly as it was designed to.
But suddenly, the radar is showing something completely unexpected. New projections indicate that this massive, complex aviation network is preparing for a sudden downturn. So why is one of the world's busiest hubs bracing for a sudden descent? What unseen turbulence is forcing these numbers downward? And what does it actually reveal about the fragility of global air travel? Welcome back to Air Flight Space, where we explore aviation stories, air safety investigations, industry developments, and the lessons shaping modern flight. Today, we're opening an investigation into the numbers, safety, and economics shaping a newly detected anomaly at London Heathrow. We're going to track exactly what happened, why it happened, and what this data teaches us about the modern aviation network.
To really understand the turbulence ahead, we first need to look at the overarching forecast for the current year. In aviation, setting a solid baseline is absolutely everything, and the numbers recently published by the hub's operator tell a very compelling story. Let's dive into the newly released June 2026 investor report data. We have our 2025 actuals standing tall at 84.5 million passengers, but the 2026 base case expectation, that actually falls to 83.6 million. And what's even more concerning is the extreme uncertainty baked into their forecasting. Because the current global environment is so unpredictable, they've published a wide passenger range that drops all the way down to 80.1 million on the lower end. Keep this detail in mind. A variance of over 4 million potential passengers indicates an operational environment dealing with severe, unpredictable crosswinds. Now, take a closer look at that base case percentage itself, a 1.1% reduction in passenger numbers. On paper, 1.1% sounds tiny, right? It sounds like a rounding error. But here is why this matters. At Heathrow's massive scale, a 1.1% drop represents nearly a million missing passengers from the global network. We're talking about a million empty seats, missing connections, and altered travel plans. So how did the airport's operators spot this trend in the first place? They didn't just guess, they actively tracked the telemetry. Let's break down the early 2026 data month by month to see how this unfolded.
At first, everything seemed normal. In fact, over the first 5 months of the year, passenger numbers were actually up by 0.7%, bringing the total to 32.8 million. It was a really positive start. But investigators noticed something unusual when they zoomed in on specific months. In April, overall passenger numbers suddenly dropped by 5%. In May, they were down another 1%. That seemingly positive aggregate for the start of the year was actually masking sudden, sharp turbulence in the spring.
Like any thorough investigation, when we see a sudden drop in altitude, or in this case, a drop in passenger volume, we need to isolate the root cause of these specific April and May overall drops. This detail would later become important. When drilling down into the regional data, the numbers revealed a shocking 52% reduction in Middle East traffic specifically during the month of April. Think about the scale of that. Over half of the expected passenger volume from an entire global region simply vanished from the network in a single month. And this really illustrates that it wasn't just some temporary glitch in the system. Moving into May, that localized drop continued, logging a 31% reduction in Middle East traffic. This confirmed a sustained, regional failure point. It wasn't a one-off event, it was a persistent drain on the airport's throughput. Now we have to look at the ripple effect. Why does a drop in one specific geographic region create such a massive disturbance across the entirety of the Heathrow hub? Why does it threaten that baseline of 84.5 million passengers? Here is why this matters, and it comes down to market share. The Middle East is a highly significant market for Heathrow. Last year, in 2025, it accounted for more than 10% of the airport's total passenger numbers. Because this single region makes up over a tenth of Heathrow's total traffic, localized disruptions there inherently and mathematically damage the macro network. You simply cannot lose half your traffic in a region that controls 10% of your overall volume without the entire global hub feeling the massive impact. Let's look at how these isolated data points from April and May build into major geopolitical impacts. They don't exist in a vacuum. They're directly connected to a broader cause that was officially identified by the airport operator. The exact catalyst for these stark statistical drops is geopolitical volatility. Specifically, the ongoing Middle East conflict has severely dampened travel demand. It's an objective reality of aviation economics. When a region experiences intense geopolitical conflict, passenger confidence drops, routes are rapidly altered, and travel demand naturally suppresses.
To really cement the gravity of this situation, we can look straight at the official statement from Heathrow Airport's investor report. They explicitly state, this reflects the risk that continued volatility in the Middle East could dampen broader traffic volumes, with impacts extending beyond the region to global travel demand over the remainder of the year.
So the crucial takeaway is captured right there. The disruption isn't just local to the Middle East. The volatility extends beyond the region. It dampens broader traffic volumes. And most importantly, it impacts global travel demand for the rest of the year. This is exactly how a regional conflict translates into 1 million missing passengers at an airport thousands of miles away.
So what can we learn from this story? Let's pull the ultimate lessons learned from this data investigation.
This became a key lesson for aviation analysts and investigators. Global hubs are highly vulnerable to localized geopolitical disruptions. The incredibly interconnected nature of modern aviation means that absolutely no airport operates in isolation. Regional volatility in one part of the world directly and severely alters the flight path of the world's busiest airports. A conflict in the Middle East doesn't just affect Middle Eastern airspace, it completely recalibrates the baseline of London Heathrow.
Thanks for watching Air Flight Space. If you found this explainer informative, leave a like and subscribe for more aviation investigations and air safety documentaries. Share your thoughts below on how you think modern geopolitics will continue to shape the future of global aviation, and I'll see you in the next explainer.